Good morning, Overall Middle School students. This is Mr. Woolley. And remember, the information contained in this video is intended to be viewed only by the students in Mr. Woolley's classroom. By watching the video, you agree that you will not record or share the video with anyone who is not a student in Mr. Woolley's classroom. All right, we're continuing on with triangles today, and this time we're talking about the Pythagorean Theorem. Now, in a right triangle, this has to be a right triangle, the legs are the two sides that make the 90-degree angle. The hypotenuse is the side that is across from the right angle. So if I'm talking about this picture here real quick, here's my legs, the two pieces that form the 90-degree angle right here, and the hypotenuse is this one that's across from it, this long one. And it says, in the Pythagorean theorem, here's our special formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that is the Pythagorean theorem right there. And what does it mean? A and b are dealing with the legs, the two pieces that form the 90-degree angle, and c is the hypotenuse. So if I take the two legs, square the leg, it equals the hypotenuse squared as well. Now, our first set of instructions is going to be to determine the missing side of the right triangle using the image or information provided. Now, as you work with these, you're going to have two legs of a right triangle, and you're always going to have a hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is going to be the longest side no matter what. The hypotenuse has to be the longest side. So if you get a set of three measurements, the hypotenuse will be the longest of the three. Now in this case, I'm actually looking for C. If I look at this picture, I have a 7 for a leg, 8 for a leg, and I'm missing the C. So if I follow my formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, my first leg, I'm going to go with 7. My second leg is going to be 8. So 7 squared plus 8 squared equals what c squared is supposed to be. I don't know what this c is yet. So I square 7, I get 49. I square 8, and I get 64. When I say square, it means that number times itself. 7 times 7, 8 times 8 equals c squared. Now, if I add those two together, I get 113 equals c squared. Now, if I want to get c all by itself, I got to get rid of the whole squared situation, so do the opposite and square root it, like we did earlier this week. Square root the other side too, and you're down to just c, and square root of 13 is about 10.6. And all of our answers for today and on our tests and stuff, we'll round the nearest 10th. Number 2. This time I'm missing a leg. I have a that I'm missing, 8 centimeters. The other leg's 5 centimeters. My hypotenuse is 12 centimeters. So I write down my formula. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. This time, the missing piece is the a squared. So a squared plus the other leg, 5 squared equals 12 squared. And a squared plus 25 equals 144. I get rid of the 25 from each side in this case. And I got a squared equals 119. So I did the opposite of squaring the a, square root it, square root the other side. I'm down to just an a, and it ends up being 10.9, rounding to the nearest 10th, of course. On b equaling a certain amount of feet, there's no picture here. As long as you know the a and the c, remember a is a leg, c is a hypotenuse, we can figure out what b is, just one of the legs. So right now my formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, remember I'm missing the b. So 4 squared is my a, plus b squared equals 7 squared. Well, that's 16. That's still b squared, and that's going to be 49. I take away 16 from each side, and down to b squared equals 33. And instead of squaring it, I do the opposite and square root it. Square root the other side. And down to b equals 5.7. Rounded to the nearest 10th, obviously. In this case, in number 4, I got a leg here, 6 feet. I got another leg here, 10 feet. But I'm missing the hypotenuse, that's c. All right, so a squared plus b squared equals c squared. There's my formula. Well, a is going to be the 6, b is going to be a 10, and c I don't know yet. So 6 squared is 36, 10 squared is 100, and still c squared over here. So add them together, you get 136, and I got 136 equals c squared. Well, if I want c all by itself, I got to do the opposite of squaring it, which means square root it. Square root it takes it down to just c, square root the other side, and I get down to 11.7. There we go. Now the other concept for today is using the given lengths, determine if each triangle is a right triangle. You can tell if a triangle is a right triangle if you know all 3 of the measurements. All you have to do is take your 2 smallest ones, in this case the 40 and the 42, these will be a and b. And remember, the hypotenuse has to be the longest side, so that is the c. Alright, so a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, it doesn't matter which one's a or b, the 40 or the 42. I'm just going to say that's the 40 is the a, 42 is the b, equals 58 squared. So I square the 40, 1600. I square the 42, 1764. Square the 58, I get 3364. Add these together, I get 3,364. That equals 3364. Yes, those are the match, so yes, this is right triangle. In this case, I have 7 inches, 14 inches, 16 inches. Well, that's the longest, so that's the hypotenuse. These have to be my legs. So I follow my formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And if a, I can just call it the 7, b is going to be my 14, and that c is obviously has to be my 16. So square the 7, I get 49, square the 14, 196, square the 16, 256. Add these together, I get 245, which is not equal to 256, so no, those are not going to be a right triangle. It's some different type of triangle. It's not going to be a right triangle because they have to equal each other when you follow the formula. All right, well, thanks for watching, and go ahead and give your practice a try in Schoology.